Hi, I'm Mr. Ayman Arif. Today we're going to talk about the straight lines and the equation of a line. This lesson from Haese and Harris, and if you talk standard level or higher level, if you picked AA or AI, this lesson is a core. Then it's really important to start with. First of all, we're going to talk about like the equation of a line. And here we have like properties for this line. Here we have the gradient. The gradient concept of a line is a measure of steepness. Then the gradient here of a line passing through 2 points, which is x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. As we mentioned, this is the first point and this is the second point. After that, we have a rule of gradient, and we can call it slope, by the way. Both are similar. Then the slope equals differences in y and differences in x, and the relation will be division. Then y2 minus y1, which is y2 this point, minus y1 here, and then x2 minus x1. This is the rule. Simply, we can represent that with m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You need to save this formula, by the way, and I think you're gonna find it in the formula booklet. There is no need to save it, but it's like I prefer to save this one. Then after that, we're gonna talk about y-intercept concept. Y-intercept concept is the intersection point between the y-axis and the line. And notice that this point we're gonna determine it while x equals 0. And while x equals 0, you're gonna determine the y-intercept. And about x-intercept, you're gonna determine x-intercept while y equals 0, by the way. This part will represent y equals 0 to find the y-intercept. Simply, the y-intercept of a line is the value of y, then the value of y, where the line cuts the y-axis. Then the value of y here could be 1, could be 2, we don't care. The value of x here could be -1, -2, we don't care about that. Then let's move further about parallel and perpendicular lines. Simply, if you have two linear equations, such as y1 equals 3x minus 2, and then y2 equals 3x plus 4, for example, that represents same gradient because this part, the coefficient of x, while you isolate y, or y should be the subject here, okay, then this 3 will determine the slope or the gradient. And here we found same slopes, like 3 and 3. And that represent these two lines, the first line and the second line, the first equation and the second equation, in the parallel mode. What about if you have two lines in perpendicular situation? If their gradients are negative reciprocals of one another, then in this scenario you can determine that, or you can represent and say these are two perpendicular lines. Such as if you have y3 and y4 here. If y3, for example, equals 2x plus 4, and y4 equals -half x plus 3, for example, then these two values or two equations, the third and the fourth, will represent like perpendicular situation. Okay, let's move further. What about the equation of a line? The equation of a line, we have more than scenario to determine the equation of the line. And here we have a definition, a critical definition. The equation of a line is an equation which connects the x-axis or the x values and y values for every point on the line. Such as if you have y equals x, like this is like one of the simplest linear equations. Y equals x, each unique value for x will generate a unique value for y. If you deal with another example like y equals 2x plus 3, then the domain, which is the possible values for x, will generate the range, which is the outcomes. Here you're gonna substitute, you're gonna put 0, 1, whatever, and then the outcomes will determine the range. Then you have two scenarios here, the first and the second. In the gradient intercept form, the equation of the line, which a gradient with gradient m and y-intercept c, then here you need to say that y equals mx plus c will show that m is a gradient or the slope, and c will represent the y-intercept, not x-intercept. To find x-intercept, you need to put y equals to 0, by the way, and solve for x. After that, the second form is the general form. Then ax plus by equals d. I can represent an extra form generated from the rule of the gradient, which is here we have, if you have m equals y minus y1 over x minus x1, becomes y minus y1 equals m by x minus x1. And we can use this form in specific scenarios. Then let's deal with real examples. The first example, he said find in gradient intercept form, then focus gradient intercept form. Directly you're gonna write y equals mx plus c. Then the equation of a line with the gradient, yes, he mentioned the gradient. He mentioned the gradient that -3, then the gradient should be -3. And passes through the point 4 and -5. Then this point will satisfy the equation, because if this is the equation or the linear equation graph, this point should lies on this line. Then it could be 4 or should be 4 and -5. Then this line will pass through the point. We can solve this equation or this question using more than one method. Let's deal with gradient intercept form method. Then y equals mx. Instead of m, which is the gradient, you're going to put -3, then x plus c. Now you need to find the value of c, which is the y-intercept. You're going to substitute instead of x by 4 and instead of y by -5, and then solve for c. Simple as that. Then -5 equals -3 by 4 plus c. Then here -5 equals -12 plus c. After that, we're gonna add 12 for both sides. Then it becomes 7 equals c. Then finally, you can write the equation y equals -3x plus 7, which is the value of c. Then c equals 7 here, because -5 and 12 becomes 7, and -12 and 12 becomes 0. That's it. This is the solution. Simple as that. What about the next example? I'll do the first question, and you can do the second one, and you can send it to me through the comments or like whatever. And if you need to contact with me, this is my email, which is aymanarif49@gmail.com. gmail.com. Sorry for that. Then the first question, he said write the equation in the general form, and here write the equation in the gradient intercept form. The general form, which is ax plus by equals d, which means what? Which means to leave this 2 on the right side and then move this part into the left side. Simple as that. Then 2 over 3x and then plus y equals 2. And after that, you can do that. Pi 3 to cancel this denominator, and it becomes 6x plus 3y equals 2 pi 3 becomes 6. Is it clear to all of you? I think it's clear. I'm sorry, not like that, because 3 by 2 over 3 becomes 2. Normal mistakes. Like, then 2x plus 3y equals 6. And you can do the second part. What about this question? This is a critical one. The third example, find in general form. Yeah, this is the general form. AX plus BY equals C. The equation of the line with gradient 2 over 3 that passes through this point. Here I can use this form. Y minus Y1 equals M by X minus X1. And then this is X1 and this is Y1. After that, Y minus, and focus on this step, Y minus negative 1 equals M, which is 2 over 3 X minus X1, which is negative, negative, becomes positive 2. Then, after that, Y plus 1 in the scenario. And focus that, he said in general form, not in y-intercept form. Then Y plus 1 equals 2 over 3x plus 4 over 3. Now you're going to adjust the equation. 1 to the right side and this part to the left side. Then negative 2 over 3x plus y equals 4 over 3 plus 1. He said find in general form the equation of the line with gradient 2 over 3 that passes through this point. I used really different method, critical one, okay, and we're gonna deal with it. You can use y-intercept form, by the way, like y equals 2 over 3x plus c, and then you're gonna find c using direct substitution, and after that adjust your equation. Then let's move further using the same idea. Now we have negative 2 over 3x plus y equals 4 over 3 plus 1. 4 over 3 plus 1 becomes 7 over 3 because 1 equivalent to 3 over 3. Then it becomes 7 over 3. Then here I'll take a line, and after that let's continue. Then it becomes here negative 2 over 3x, negative 2 over 3x plus y equals 7 over 3. 7 over 3. Is it difficult? No, not difficult at all. Then times 3 becomes negative 2x plus 3y equals 7. Simple as that. Peace be upon you. Today we're going to talk about a new lesson for TP students. Today we're going to talk about how to graph or graphing a straight line. This lesson for AA students and AI, whether you talk standard level or higher level. First of all, how to graph a line or linear equation or linear function. We have more than one method. The first one, we can use lines in gradient intercept form. Like if you have this equation, which is y equals mx plus c, you can first of all identify the y-intercept, which is y-intercept could be 2, could be positive or negative, then c could be 2, negative 2, whatever. Then you're gonna plot it like the y-intercept means the first point, which is 0 and 2, for example. In this scenario, he said use the y-intercept c to plot the points 0 and c. That means x should equal 0. After that, you're gonna use x and y steps from the gradient m to locate another point on the line. Then you're gonna use the gradient, the slope, could be half, could be 2 over 3, could be 1. And if it's 2 over 3, that means what? You're gonna move 2 steps in the positive direction for y axis, and you're gonna move 3 steps for the positive direction for x axis. What if it's negative 1 over 2? Then you're gonna move just only negative 1 step in the negative direction for y axis and 2 steps for the x direction in a positive direction. After that, you're gonna join these 2 points. For example, if you have y equals negative half x plus 3, for example, then you're gonna graph it like that. Here, you're gonna find the y-axis, and after that, this is the x-axis. Okay, let's see. This is y-axis, and here we have x-axis. First of all, you need to plot the y-intercept, which is here 1 and 2 and 3. Then this is the y-intercept, which is 0 and 3. And after that, this is the first point. And after that, you need to move just only one step in the negative direction for y. And this is just only one step. And after that, let me use different color. This is one step. And after that, 2 steps in the positive direction for x-axis. 1 and 2. This is the new point, which is 2 and 2. 2 on x-axis and 2 on y-axis. Now you can join between these two lines, which is 3 and -2. This is the line. As easy as that. The second method, you're going to use the general form. If you have ax plus by equals d, you can find the y-intercept by letting x equal 0. Then to find y-intercept, you need to put x equals 0 in the equation, and you're going to solve for y. And to find x-intercept, you're going to use y equals 0 in the equation, in the original equation, and then you're going to find it. Okay? And if you have, for example, 2x plus 4y equals 6, or something like that, let me use like 2x plus 4y equals 8, for example. Then you're gonna use the technique we used before, or this technique, the new one. This is y-axis, and then this is x-axis. Following this just only the steps, the main rules. To find y-intercept, you're gonna put x equals 0 in the equation. Then and when you put x equals 0, the equation becomes that 4y equals 8, then y equals, divide both sides over 4, then y equals 2, while x equals 0. Then while x equals 0, y equals 2. And then to find x-intercept, that means you're going to put y equals 0, right? Then using same equation, you're going to put y equals 0. Then 2x equals 8 divided by 2, that represents what? Represent that x equals 4. Then 1, 2, 3, and then 4. That's it. And then you're going to link between them. As easy as that. So this is like the main concept behind graphing a linear equation. We have a new concept or different concept. You can use it, by the way. For example, if you have like, for example, which means like, if you have 2x plus 4y equals 8, same one, you can graph a table and then putting values for x and values for y, generating values for y. Then when x equals 0, y should equals 2. And when x equals 1, then y should equals 6 over 4, which is 3 over 2, and so on. And when x equals -1, that means what? That means it's 10 over 4. And 10 over 4 represented by 5 over 2. I'm sorry? Yes, 5 over 2. Because when it's negative, then becomes like that. Directly -2 plus 4y equals 8. Then after that, 4y equals 10. Because you're going to add the 2. Then divided by 4, y should equals 10 over 4, which is 5 over 2. Divided by 2. After that, you're going to plot the points on the coordinate plane. After that, linking between the points. This is like an extra method, if you need to use. Okay. What about this example? He said, right now, graph these two equations, or these two functions, which is linear functions, by the way. Okay. Let's graph the y-axis, and after that, the x-axis. This is the y-axis, and after that, this is x-axis. This is question A, by the way. And after that, you're gonna use the gradient intercept for, which is, first of all, you're gonna mention that this is the y-intercept equals 2, and after that, -1, which is just only one step in the negative direction for y. After that, 3 steps, 1, 2, 3. Okay, again, one step because it's -1/3, then just only one step in the negative direction. Then this is the first step in the negative direction for y, because if you remember, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And that represents the change in y-axis over the change on x-axis. That leads us to this point, which is 3 and 1. After that, linking between these 2 points. Linking between these 2 points, that's it. What about question B? Question B, you notice that this is the standard form. Okay, then question B, finding x-intercept by putting y equals 0. Then when y equals 0, you're gonna cancel this term. After that, 2x equals 12. Then 2x equals 12. That leads us to that x equals 6. This is the first point, which is 6 and 0. And after that, finding y-intercept. Y-intercept while x equals 0 in this time. Then x equals 0. That leads us to that -4y equals 12. Okay, then divided by -4 divided by -4. Then 12 divided by -4 becomes -3. This is the second point, which is 0 and -3. And notice that x equals 0 and y equals -3. Then we can graph it on the coordinate plane. Okay, this is the first part, which is y-axis, and after that x-axis. Okay, this is y-axis and this is x-axis. The first point was 6 and 0, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 6 and 0, and the second point was 0 and -3. -1, -2, -3. This is -3, which is 0 and -3. This is the second point. After that, linking between them. Linking between these 2 points will represent our line. Okay, that's it. I think it becomes easier right now. What about this example? He said what? He said the cost of hiring a trailer for T hours is, this is the function for cost. And by the way, it's a linear function because the power to the power of 1, and it's in numerator, not in denominator. Okay, C equals 5T plus 10. We have 2 questions. He said find the cost of hiring trailer for 4 hours. Then now we're gonna deal with time. Then instead of T, which is the time indicated in the equation, you need to find the cost. While the time equals 4, then instead of T, you're gonna put 4, and then you're gonna find the value or the cost, the total cost. Then 5 by 4 becomes 20, and then plus $10 becomes $30. Then the cost for hiring a trailer for 4 hours equals $30. And after that, he said what? Draw the graph of C against T. Then you need to graph this part. Okay, we can graph it. And he said mark a point on your graph to indicate your answer to A. Then we have 2 questions. First of all, you're gonna graph. Let's graph it. Okay, this is the y-axis here. And after that, this is the x-axis. Okay. Okay, easy peasy. Okay, then this is y and this is x. I'll take steps of 5, then 5 and 10 and 15, and here the same, 5 and 10 and 15 and so on. Notice that when T, and T stands for x and C related to the y, then when T equals 4, the result should be 30. Notice this point. And here we have a gradient form. First of all, you're going to mention the 10, which is the y-intercept. After that, we have 5. Then 5 over 1. Then that means what? 5 steps down and 1 to the right. Then 5 steps down. Five steps up because it's positive. Then 5 steps up on y-axis, and just only 1 step to the right side. Then this is the point, which is the green point. Should be here. I think it's not clear. But we're gonna deal with it. He said 15. This is like the 10. This is the first point and this is the second point. Let's graph it. Here's the first point, and then passing through our second point, like that, approximately like that. And he said when it's 4 on x-axis, it should intersect with 30. Here is 20, and here 25, and here is 30. Then when it's 4, it should intersect with 30. And let me adjust the equation or the graph. Let me adjust the graph. Give me a second. Okay, let me adjust this graph. Here 20, 25, and 30. Then this is the new point. Then the line should passes through these 3 points, which is from this point till here. Yes. Okay, then this is 20, and this is 25, and this is 30, and this is our point, which is 4 and 30. Okay, then when t equals 4, the cost should equals $30. And this is the line. And this is our first point, which is 0 and 10, which is y-intercept. And this is the second point we generated, like from passing or moving by 5 steps up in the positive direction for y-axis, and just only 1 step to the right side, which is this point, the second point. Now it's your turn to solve these questions, and please send me your answers on WhatsApp. Peace be upon you. Today we're going to talk about perpendicular bisectors. I'm Mr. Ayman Arif. Perpendicular bisectors. Then the perpendicular bisectors of a line, or perpendicular bisector of a line segment AB, is perpendicular to AB. First of all, perpendicular to AB, and will bisect AB in the midline or in the midpoint. We don't understand anything till now. Okay. AB line segment. Okay. And we have perpendicular line passing through AB in the midpoint. Okay, if you need to find the midpoint between 2 points such as A and B, if point A consists of x1 and y1, and point B consists of x2 and y2, to find the midpoint, which is point M, should equals x1 plus x2 over 2 and y1 plus y2 over 2. This is the rule. This is the first rule. We're going to deal with it today. Kindly notice that the points on the perpendicular line or perpendicular bisector are equidistant from A and B. Any point, let L point on perpendicular bisector. Then if you draw a line from A to L, this line, the length of this line should be equal to the length of LB. Okay, this is the first thing to understand. After that, the perpendicular bisector divides the number of plane or the number plane into 2 regions. We have 2 regions. This is the first and this is the second. Okay. And notice that the points that are closer to A than B will be closest point to the perpendicular bisector. And these points on this other side that closer to B than A. Then here you have points on this side. These points are closer to B and these points are closer to A. You have two regions, okay? This is region B, for example, and this is region A. Okay, let's deal with the first example right now. You're gonna graph y-axis and then you're gonna graph x-axis. After that, you're gonna plot the points. And here could be 2, then 4, then 6 and 8. And after that we have like 2 and 4 and 6 and 8. The first point was 4 and -3, then 4 and -3. This is 4 and -3, point A. The next point should be -2 and 7. Then this is -2 and 7. This is the second point, point B. Then we're gonna link between them. Choose point B till point A. Now we need to find the midpoint, first of all. The midpoint given by the rule, which is x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Then x1 equals 4 plus x2 equals -2 divided by 2. What about the next coordinate, which is y coordinate? Then -3 and 7 becomes 4 over 2. Then the midpoint should be 2 over 2, which is 1, and 4 over 2, which is 2. Then this is the midpoint, and which is 1 and 2. This is the midpoint, which is between the point A and point A. I'm sorry, point B and point A. Then we need to find the equation of the perpendicular bisector. You don't need to graph the line. You don't need to find this like this graph or this line. You can directly find the gradient for the line segment AB, and the gradient equals, or the slope equals, differences for y, which is 7 minus -3, which is 7 plus 3, which is 10, over -2 minus 4, which is -6. Then the slope in this scenario becomes -5 over 3. This is the slope of the line segment. What about the perpendicular bisector? We talked before, if m1 by m2 equals -1, this is perpendicular situation. Then m1 equals -5 over 3. Then this is -5 over 3 by m2 and should equals -1. Then m2 equals 3 over 5. Okay, this is the gradient for the perpendicular bisector. Then we have two critical parts, which is the midpoint and the gradient of the perpendicular bisector. Then the equation should be y equals 3 over 5x plus c. And we need to find the value of y-intercept. By substituting instead of x by 1 and instead of y by 2, then it becomes 2 equals 3 over 5 plus c. That will lead us to that 2 equals 3 over 5 plus c, and after that c equals 2 minus 3 over 5 and equals to 10 over 5 minus 3 over 5, and the result should be 7 over 5. Then y equals 3 over 5x plus 7 over 5. What about this question? In this example, he said a line segment has equation 3x minus 2y plus 1 equals 0. And he gave you the midpoint by 3 and 5. First of all, you need to state the gradient of the line segment, then the line segment, and then the perpendicular bisector. Question A, the first part, the line segment, we need to determine the gradient. Okay, then it becomes 3x equals 2y, and here we have it plus 1. And after that, we're going to adjust the equation. Y equals 3 over 2 x plus 1 over 2. Then the gradient of the line segment should be 3 over 2. Negative, the reciprocal for the gradient becomes the perpendicular bisector gradient. And the perpendicular bisector gradient becomes negative 2 over 3. After that, in the second question, he said, state the equation of the perpendicular bisector and write your answer in the form of ax plus by plus d equals 0. And this is the second question. First of all, y equals m, which is negative 2 over 3, x plus c. And we have the midpoint. Then after that, we're going to substitute by the value of the midpoint to find the value of c, and it becomes 5 equals negative 2 plus c. Then c equals 7. Then the equation becomes y equals negative 2 over 3x plus 7. After that, I'll send this part to the left side. It becomes 2 over 3x plus y minus 7. After that, I'll make it by 3. Then it becomes 2x plus 3y minus 21 equals 0. That's it. These questions will be your homework, inshallah. Just only solve these questions and send me the solution on this WhatsApp number. Peace be upon you. Today we're going to talk about simultaneous equations. I'm Mr. Ayman Arif. First of all, we're going to talk about the first kind, which is graphical solution. In general idea, we need to find values for x and y, which satisfy both equations at the same time. First example here, he said, solve the following simultaneous equations graphically. And this is the first method, which is graphical method. We have the first equation, and then we have the second equation. First of all, I'll graph the coordinate plane. Here, I'll graph y-axis. Then after that, I'll graph x-axis. Then after that, I'll mention or I'll graph the two equations. The first one, here we have the y-intercept. Y-intercept at -1. This is -1 and y-axis. And after that, this is the gradient, which is 3 over 1. The gradient will represent three steps up in the positive direction, then 1 and 2 and 3 till here, and after that, 1 step to the right direction. Then this is the point, which is at 1 and 2. Then this is the first point, and this is the second one. You need to link between them in order to graph the linear equation. This is the first point, and this is the second one. We did the first line. What about the second one? The second one in the standard form. Then, better to identify the x-intercept and the y-intercept. To find the x-intercept here, you need to put y equals to 0. Then x equals 3. Then when y equals 0, x should equals 3. This is the first point. When y equals 0, x equals 3. What about y-intercept? When x equals 0, y should equals 3. This is the second point. Now you need to link between them. Notice that the intersection point will be the solution. This is the intersection point, will be 1 and 2. Then 1 for x and 2 for y. And this is the first method. What about the second one? Now we're going to talk about solution by substitution, which is the substitution method. Here, you're going to put whether y or x as a subject. And we found the first equation, like y should be the subject now in this question. After that, I'll just substitute the value of y in the second equation. It becomes 2x and then plus 3. Instead of this y, I'll put the value of y, which is x minus 3, equals to 16. Then here you need to solve for x. Solve for x. 2x plus 3x minus 9 equals 16. Then you need to add 9 for both sides. Then 16 and 9 becomes 25. And 2x plus 3x becomes 5x. Now you need to divide over 5. Then x should equals 5. This is the first coordinate. This is the first part. What about y? Y equals x minus 3. And we found that x equals 5. Then y equals 5 minus 3. Then y equals 2. And this is the point, which is 5 and 2. 5 for x and 2 for y. What about elimination, which is the third method? Now, he said solution by elimination. This is elimination method, which is cancelling whether y or x. Here you found negative 2y and 2y. If you add these two equations, the result should be 8x equals to 7 and 17 becomes 24. Okay, after that, divided by 8, x should equals 3. Now we found that x equals 3. I'll choose the second one, and then 3 by 3, which is the value of x, plus 2y equals 17. Then 3 by 3 equals 9. Subtract 9, subtract 9. Then 2y equals 8. Then divided by 2, y equals 4. Then the point should be 3 and 4. Okay, I think it's clear. Extra question, extra example for elimination. But in this scenario, we found 4y and negative 3y. You cannot cancel them, but you have different signs. Then you need to make it by 3 and make it by 4. The first equation by 3. Why? To generate 12y and negative 12y. When you add them, the result should be 0. Then 3 by 3x becomes 9x equals 2 by 3 becomes 6. What about 4 by 2x becomes 8x. And 7 by 4 becomes 28. After that, adding them, the 9 and 8 becomes 17x. And then 6 and 28 becomes 34. Divided by 17, x equals 2. What about the value of y? Picking the first equation or the second equation will help us to determine the value of y. Then I'll choose the first one. 3 by x, which is 2, plus 4y equals 2. 3 times 2 becomes 6. Then negative 6 and negative 6. Then 4y equals negative 4. Divided by 4, y equals negative 1. These exercises for you, do it as a homework. The first type will be graphically, the second will be using substitution method, and the third one you're gonna use elimination method. And please send the results to me on my own WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Mr. Ayman Arif, and today we're gonna talk about problem solving with simultaneous equations. First of all, you need to consider these steps. The first step is to decide the variables, which is one of them should be x and the other should be y. And respect the units, please. The second step, to write these two equations. Then you're gonna have two equations, the first one and the second one. The third step, you need to solve them simultaneously, whether using substitution method or elimination method, or you're gonna use graphical method. The fourth one, you can check your results with the original data given. And then the last one, you need to write your answer in sentence form. Let's deal with this example. He said here, we have 2 adults' tickets and 3 children's tickets to a cricket match, costs 45 euros. This is the first sentence. What about the second one? He said 3 adults and 4 children's tickets cost 64. This is the second part. Then here we have 2 variables, adults and children's ticket. Then you can assume that you're gonna indicate adults ticket by x and child's ticket by y. Then about the first equation, we can convert it. We have 2x and 3y equals to 45. This is the first equation. What about the second? We have 3x and 4y equals 64. Equals 64. Okay, this is the second equation. Now, after converting the question into 2 equations, you need to solve them simultaneously. Here, I'll use elimination method. Then, we have 2x and 3x. 2x by negative 3 becomes negative 6x, and 3x by 2 becomes 6x. Then you're gonna cancel this one with this one. Negative 3 by 3y becomes negative 9y, and negative 3 by 45 becomes negative 135. What about the second equation? 4y by 2 becomes 8y, and then 64 by 2 becomes 128. After that, you need to add them, then the result should be negative y equals negative 7. Then, obviously, y equals 7. This is the first part. What about the second part? We need to find the value of x. Then using the first equation or the second equation to find the value of x. I'll prefer to use the first one. Then 2x, it's a line, okay, 2x and 2y, and 3y. Then 2x and 3y. Then instead of 3, it becomes 21, because 3 by 7, which is the value of y, it becomes 21, equals 45. Then subtracting 21 from both sides, then 2x equals 24. Divided by 2, x should equals just only 12. Then adult's ticket will cost 12 euros and child's ticket will cost 7 euros. And that's it. This exercise will be critical one and you can solve it. Once you're gonna solve this exercise, just Just only send me the results to my WhatsApp. Thanks for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.